everybody. This is Barry Mankin here with the Holistic Home Health Podcast. We are coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the CERS conference. And I have, again, with me, same clothes, a week later, who knew? But I have Carl Grimes. And again, I want to thank you so much for doing the interview here with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate your interest and curiosity. It helps me to get out what I think is important, what I'd like people to understand and take away.
I don't think anybody is going to come close to your passion and your drive. And I still to this day, as you have mentored me over the years, I find out that you just came from Japan,
Singapore.
I'm sorry, and then you were in was it Iceland?
Yes, last summer,
and
India.
Yeah, I would be really tired.
I was. It took me over a month to really recover from that.
Wow. I mean, you're fighting the fight all over the world.
I don't fight.
Tell me what it looks like.
I just do, and I respond, and I'm curious about what's going on, and helping where help is wanted.
So you're steering. You're helping just steer whatever, just to kind of look, listen, okay, do I need to contribute? Do I just need to be aware? How do I contribute?
Yeah, and it really, I can talk to people if they're seeking help or information. I can tell them what I do and how I do it, and if they accept that, then we can work together. And most of the time, once they hear my approach to it, we have a meeting, we have a consultation, or something happens.
Okay. I see you a lot on forums, still online as well. So whenever we don't meet, maybe once a year when we see each other, sometimes twice, but mainly once a year, which is a treat for me because I just soak up the wisdom. I see you contributing online in these forums that I rarely get involved with. Right. I just okay, I'm not even dealing with that. You are so involved in the sense of helping people, contributing to the narrative to make sure that narrative gets steered to a healthy place, and you combat false information a lot of times, and it's just so refreshing to see how you're still driven in the way that you're driven, and you're just out in the trenches where a lot of us are just like, all right, we're going to go make money, we're going to do this, and hopefully we can make a difference. Well, like, you're making the difference still today after all these years from inception, and it's inspiring to me.
Well, it helps that I have a full-time job, and this is part of my job.
Right.
It's not a specific domain focus, but it's part of it because it's also how I learn. Yeah. So going back to what we said in the previous episode of what happened to me isn't necessary, and it's still not necessary for other people, and it upsets it. It's intolerable for me that occurs. So when I see the misinformation, and I see people confused, and I see people being harmed by it, for whatever reason, healthy or not, I want to step in and
be an advocate,
correct that, or clarify it. Now, it's not always a correction; it's a clarification. So when somebody is talking about, say, mycotoxins, they say something about it. Say, well, the mycotoxins were confirmed by the ERMI results, and well, let's clarify something. First of all, not all molds always produce mycotoxins. So you can't identify a mold and know that there's mycotoxins. They don't always produce it. So how do you know? You have to test specifically for it. And then there's other parts of that. So a lot of it comes down to word usage and definitions, and understanding not just the definition, but what it means. Okay. So, and the fact that part of it, just for me personally, selfishly, is nobody. I talked a few minutes ago about how no two houses are exactly the same, no people the same, no two questions are exactly the same. Right. And I found myself answering differently. And I began to realize that they asked the question a little bit differently, so the answer is a little bit different because it's a different part of a complex topic.
Right.
So in a sense, I'm practicing.
Right.
So maybe some people listening to this know who the author Malcolm Gladwell is. Okay. And one of his books, he talked about to be an expert, you need to practice 10,000 times. Well, I'm finding out that it's more like 20,000 times.
Right.
And I'm still practicing.
Correct.
Because it's always a little bit different. And it's refined in certain ways. It's not just different, but it's hopefully a little bit better.
Right. Right. The one thing that I would say that, at least in my own experience with you, is that made a huge impact on me was when you talk about exposure. Because at the end of the day, we always talk about the relationship between the body and the building.
Right.
And if the pain point starts with the body, and the person, and it ends with the person,
right,
your process is really focused on exposure. Again, this is where we kind of alluded to the difference between quantitative and data and people's experience, and trying to say, okay, there's at the end of the day, it's really about the person, and that has to be first, because their experience is what the pain point that drives us to the building in the first place. So tell me how. Let's talk about exposure a little bit. I know there's a lot of arguments in the industry.
Right.
We had a fun discussion today with somebody at lunch.
Right.
And which was, I just sat back and watched. This was I was like, all right, this guy's going to get a lesson over here.
Well, there were two people, actually. One wasn't as active, but she was very interested.
She was very interested. So I was like a fly on the wall, and I had a great time.
Okay.
So tell me about that.
Well, let me give a little bit of objective findings for it first.
Okay.
So in 1999, the American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists wrote a book called Bioaerosols, okay, identification and control. Section 15.5 says the ultimate criteria for a successful bioremediation, whether it's mold or other biologicals, the ultimate criteria for successful bioremediation is that occupants can re-enter without reaction or harm. That was people. Okay. And I discovered that one of the first meetings back at the beginning, 2001, starting with the S520, and I read that, and the immediate response by one person was, "They don't mean that." I said, "Yeah, but they do." And he had a PDF, an illegal PDF. He went page by page by page on a copier, had a PDF of bioaerosols, and he read it. And I said, "What else does it mean?" It says that's the ultimate criteria. And they said, "Well, we just can't do that." And people still don't want to hear that. But that's the science of hygienists at the time saying that that's the ultimate criteria. Well, if that's the ultimate criteria, shouldn't we try to go in that direction? Okay. So shouldn't we try to identify and then make alterations to the indoor environment so that they are no longer reactive or uncomfortable in there? Now, you can't get it to zero, and people are different, and different people in the same household are different.
Right.
But there was one family that the mother, two girls, and the husband, and the girls and the husband ganged up on the mother. They're laughing and this sort of thing. So I just worked with her. And after it was all said and done, they said, we feel better too.
Right. They didn't even know.
They didn't know. It wasn't enough for them to act.
Correct.
Okay.
I see that stuff all the time, but that's what doesn't get recognized as much.
Right.
Nobody talks about it. And most people don't even know how to articulate that they're uncomfortable because they're, whatever you want to call their toxic load or whatever in their body isn't hitting tilt. And so they're just functioning in this oppressive environment.
Let me use an analogy with a toothache. You don't go to the dentist when you first notice it.
No.
It gets worse, and then it goes away, and then it gets worse. Not until it reaches the point that you have to stop and take action. You have to stop doing other things and take action do you go to the dentist?
Well, it derails the rest of what you do every day.
Right, and you can get by without it. And you can suffer a little bit. For us men, I'm a real man.
That's right.
I can do that. That's right. I can do that. I can do that. And so there's a certain point that's different for everybody on different things.
Yeah.
So that's part of the evaluation of the person is, I actually have a 6-point scale.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, the personal impact rating. And what brought it about, this is back when I was in the process of writing my book. It's called Starting Points for a Healthy Habitat. You can search my name or that title on Amazon. You'll see it, but it's out of print.
Check it.
It has been out.
All right.
Once in a while, somebody will find a used copy.
Okay.
For anywhere from $8 to $300, depending on what it is. But it was like, so when does people act? And it was just fortuitous or serendipity or whatever that I was talking to, all in 1 week, I was talking to one client, and I was kind of curious about this. So I said, well, what does this, how does this affect your life?
Right.
I didn't use impact. I didn't think of it then, but how does this affect your life? And she says, oh, well, it's really messing up my life. How? Well, I like to climb 14ers. Colorado has over 14,000 foot mountains, and some people want to climb them all. Her goal was to climb 5 or 6 a year.
Wow.
She can only do 1 or 2. And I'm saying, I don't even want to drive my car. There's one mountain you can drive the top and you go Trail Ridge Road. And I don't even want to do that.
I think she's doing pretty good.
A few days later, I'm working with a client that I had worked with previously. She was a school teacher who retired early because she was so sick, primarily from the school. And but she had home issues too. So after she quit and came home, then she had a different set of issues. So I had worked with her. And I said, so how are you doing? She said, oh, I'm great. This is the best I felt in years. I said, oh, that's good. So are you going to be able to go back to teaching? Oh, I'll never be able to teach again. I'm not that well, but this is really good. I thought, wow, what a difference.
Yeah.
So with some thought and experimentation on, I had to put bookends on it.
Right.
Somehow so that people could, with their different experiences, could still have a calibration point.
Right.
So a 1 is nothing, but yet everybody reacts to something at least a little bit, and it takes some thought to be aware of it, but there's some things they don't like.
Right.
A 6 is everything. It's just before death. Okay.
Okay. That's a wide range.
Nothing, everything.
Okay.
So a 2, a personal impact rating of 2, is where the majority of the population is. And this is important because Facebook groups don't recognize this. They think the whole world is like them. Okay.
You're right.
I don't know, 75, 80, 85, 90, I don't know what it is, but the vast majority of people are not noticeably impacted by this. Even if they're being made sick, they aren't aware of it. They don't act.
Right.
And if they do notice, they can do something. They can take an aspirin or antihistamine or something. They get on with their life. That's all they have to do. That's the only action they take. 3 is where they have to stop and take action, like with the toothache, or the brakes on your car are squealing now, and now you're having trouble stopping. And you have some point you've got to stop and not drive that car anymore, and you've got to go get it fixed. Right. So whatever that point is for that person, when they reach that point, they got to stop and do something. That's a 3. Okay. Okay. 4 is when you've got multiple things. It's like I expressed earlier, the many complaints, many doctors, many diagnoses, many failures, things that you used to enjoy doing, you don't enjoy doing anymore. You don't have the energy. You've got to rest up so you can go do things that you want to do, and then you're exhausted for a day or two. In other words, there's multiple things that are life altering. And because of the complexity of it, the response to fix it, in quotes, is life altering. It's not just that you don't eat wheat anymore. Right. You can't use your favorite perfume that you love, that gives you your sense of value. Right. You can't do this. You can't do that. You have to dramatically alter your lifestyle and how you live your life and your attitude about it even. Yeah. So that's
it's uncomfortable.
It's extremely uncomfortable. It's debilitating. Okay. But it's a 4. 5 is debilitating. That's the disability.
Yeah.
You are so sick so often, you can't work. You can't even work part-time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I was at my worst, I couldn't even take care of a plant.
Wow.
I was divorced at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I had one plant. It was an aloe plant, and they can live a long time.
They're supposed to be healing too, aren't they?
Well, if you ingest it or rub it on a burn or something. But it was like, I didn't notice it very often. I was so out of it, and it wasn't important in my life. But every once in a while, I would notice, and I think, well, do I need to water it? I don't think I have for a while. It's still green. And then at some point, I looked at it, and it was brown. I thought,
how do you kill an aloe plant?
I did.
One of the most resilient.
I did. It took a long time and a lot of inattention. But I killed it.
Wow.
Okay.
One of your big accomplishments, right?
Right.
That's a pretty big one.
So that's what I mean. I couldn't even take care of a plant.
Yep.
Okay. So that's how bad it was and disabling for me. So that I was a 5.
Okay.
Okay. I'd already closed my business. I wasn't able to work. If I wanted to do something like get to a doctor or check something or do something intentional, it could take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks to actually get it done.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, I realized that I was doing the consultations, mostly doctor referrals and that sort of thing at the time. I would always do it.
Right.
I could make the appointment with the person, and I would go do it, and I would be on time. And it was like, well, how come I get that done, and all this other stuff that I want to do, I never get done?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of worrying about it, do what I do and forget the rest. Mm-hmm. Let it go. And that's still a lot of what I do now. I still have demands on me, but I got 3 different organizations that right now I could write an abstract for to present what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I could do it. I want to do it, but I don't have the time because other things I just get done.
Yeah.
There's no time for that.
Right.
Okay. So there's some things, it just happens. It gets done.
Sure.
I don't have to think about it so much and that sort of thing. So that's part of, for me, was the healing, in quotes, process also.
Wow. Let me ask, we're here at this conference.
Right.
We have, and we've talked about this, but I want...
Are you getting into dangerous territory here?
Slightly.
Slightly.
There is a tension between...
Let me say this to everybody first.
Preliminary.
Blame me, not him. I'll take the responsibility that you have a duty to ask the questions. Yes. I have a duty to answer or not.
That's right.
Or how I answer.
That's right. Okay. The how is everything.
Yes. And like I said last time at the very beginning, I'm not very good at following direction. So I don't know what I'm going to say.
So tell me about what is your view on the tension between 2 industries? The healthcare industry as it sits from the holistic medical side,
right,
which is really advocating for prevention, in my opinion, and our industry on the environmental side. Mm-hmm. Tell us about what you see is great, what you see are some fallacies, and what you think would help bridge those 2 things to make that tension more healthy, as opposed to constantly have back and forth.
You gave me the easy questions first.
Yeah.
Yeah. One encouraging thing about this conference is they have both here. Mostly medical, but they got a lot of practitioners, mm-hmm. And some that have worked with the organization for a few years, mm-hmm. That do inspections, mm-hmm. and work directly with people. The other one is, in particular, is they had Dr. Joe Stiebrick here to talk about building science. Mm-hmm. Which is unusual for him. It's new for him, mm-hmm. and it's new for any group like this.
Oh yeah, pushes the boundaries for certain people too. Which is good.
Yeah, and he does it in a way that it doesn't overwhelm them with the science and the facts and the expertise and all that sort of thing, and can take the complexity. He talked about the second law of thermodynamics and the fact that there's really 3, but there's really 4.
Right.
And that sort of thing. He knows all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he can put it down into very simple terms. Mm-hmm. Like the first thing is, don't kill people. Don't kill buildings.
Right.
don't make buildings that kill people.
Don't do stupid things.
Don't do stupid things that do all that kind of stuff. Right.
And the best thing apart of how he did this, which was like I was just laughing, is that he prefaced it as if he was going to have like an eloquent dissertation on the science of what that really means,
right,
or how that happens. He just summed it up, and he just said, "Okay, guys, this is I learned this from a famous philosopher. Don't kill people."
Right.
And everybody's just turning their head, and we're just dying laughing. So he did a great job presenting that.
And he went back to say, I didn't make this stuff up. This came from books.
Books.
You have to go to a library to find a book, and you have to read the book.
Isn't the irony in that, though, that the same trees that we build the houses with that have the problems are the same things that we learn about from
the books that are made from trees?
That's deep.
Oh, it is.
We could go way down a rabbit hole with that. We could get nowhere.
But that's the complexity of life, of the interrelationship of things. So, and that's interrelationship is the key. Mm-hmm. And that's where there's some hope for my side of it, for me personally, with an organization like this and others. Mm. And I was just at one, as a contrast, where it's the engineers and the PhDs internationally. It was in Singapore. Mm-hmm. And I'm a practitioner. I'm not academic. I'm not a PhD. Mm. But I've served on the board for 4 years as vice president of practice. And that ended over 10 years ago. That's what first got me introduced to the international part of it. Mm. And I submitted an abstract, and they accepted it. And every year since then, I've submitted abstracts, and they've accepted it. And it's not PhD, it's not statistics and p-values and all that sort of thing. And they've never yet told me to sit down and shut up. So I keep talking.
There you go.
Okay.
That's right.
I can't be as direct as Joe Stiebrick is when he talks, because he's got the credentials. Mm-hmm. He's a professional engineer. He's got a PhD. He's got a couple of master's degree and all this sort of thing. But I can still talk. And going back to the S520 days, I was curious, why are those remediators? I've never done remediation. Why am I here? Why did they even listen to me? Mm-hmm. And they said, we don't know, but there's something about what you say or how you say it that connects with them.
Yeah.
They're interested in. And that's the way it's been. That's one of the, I guess, the engines that keep me going, that when I'm not heard or I'm not included like I think they should, it's just, I need more time, and just give me more time and figure out how to say it better, how to engage them, because they want to know.
Well, you're learning your audience, you're reacting to engagement, and you're saying, okay, how do I get my point across to these people to where they can absorb the information? You need to check their permeability.
Yes.
That just came out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a dad joke for nerds, is what I call that.
Right. Plus, I'm either stubborn or naive.
Right.
I don't know which, or maybe it's a combination of both. I'm too stubborn to quit, and I'm too naive to know I should. So I just keep going along. And then once in a while, I find somebody like you that actually wants to hear it.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
so what was your question?
So the first question I think we hit on, what are some of the positives, right? So obviously the industry, I think that we would both see is changing in a positive way, in the sense of just organically, pun intended. These two organizations are just naturally starting to come together, but there's going to be some crossover.
Well, at least interest in it.
Well, enough to where we're here together.
And a hope and intent to,
absolutely.
A long, long, long way to go. And they haven't, it's the level of the ignorance and naivety, if that's the word, is like when I first started. Mm-hmm. They're just starting, and they don't yet know what they don't know, and they don't yet know what they need to know. Mm. But if they continue, it'll work. Eventually, they'll get somewhere, or it won't. But at least there's some kind of progress or change that will be made. And this is one point that I really want to get across. When you have two things that are different and they don't mix well, stop mixing them. Mm-hmm. It's opposite of what everybody says. Mm-hmm. In some places, they call it silos. Mm-hmm. There's the building silo, and there's the medical silo, and there's the people silo. So tear down the silos. Break down the silos so we can mix it up, and all you end up with a mess.
Yeah.
What I advocate, and there's a basis for it in system science. It's a formality. I have a mentor on that at University of Colorado.
Yeah.
It was actually created originally by Schrodinger, Schrodinger's cat. He got bored with quantum mechanics, decided to apply physics and chemistry to life, to biology.
Right.
And he said, it doesn't work because physics and chemistry is reductionist. You reduce it to its simplest terms. You have a clock, you take the clock apart, take all the pieces apart, see how they fit, take them apart, put them back together, and it works.
Right. Hopefully.
Try that with a person. Try that with a bird. Try that with a plant. The first thing you do when you take it apart is you kill it.
Correct.
You remove the thing that distinguishes it from the material.
Right.
It now becomes a collection of parts, and it's no longer a clock.
Right.
Okay. So that's where it started. Other people picked it up. And then Robert Rosen formalized it with the math. And John Kenneman at the University of Colorado has done moving it toward the practical use of that.
Okay.
And I've tried to take it from there to the actual practice of things. Okay, so that's like the theoretical background.
Right.
The point here is system science is systems, and Joe talked about this today. Systems, okay? It's complex. They interact. So going back to the clock analogy again, you have a cog and you have a spring. They don't work the same. They interact, but you can't destroy the cog, and you can't destroy the spring and try to make them the same.
Right.
Make the cog, and the spring, the spring. Make the building, make the people.
Right.
And never the two. Wait a minute. It's not that never the two shall meet. This is where you get it. If you make them distinctly different so that they are isolated and identified solely on their own, now you can see if there's an interaction between them.
And you identify the intrinsic value of each so that they're on equal playing field. So
I don't know if they'll equal or not, but they're in the playing field, and that's part of the relationship. Are they equal or not? But it's the interaction. You study the relationship. We know about the buildings and materials. We know about people in medicine. We don't know about how they interact. Here's one example. I worked with Dr. Claudia Miller at University of Texas. She's the one on multiple chemical sensitivity or toxic and induced loss of tolerance. Now it's sensitization. Back in the early 90s with Nicholas Ashford at MIT. That's how it all started. And the study was to find houses where people on the scale for chemical intolerance was a certain level, okay, and then find sources of exposure in their house, okay. Then they went in and they did GCMS analysis, air sampling, to see what the VOCs were in the air. What were they and how much were they?
Right.
And then they did the symptom star that she and Nick Ashford developed that identifies 10 different body systems of the person.
Right.
Okay. So objective, subjective.
Right.
Okay. They went then removed the sources. We went back in with the chemical analysis. One spike still high, but 15, 20 others almost totally gone.
Right.
Dramatic difference. Symptom stars showed the amount of impact on them was high to start, collapsed. Not all the way, but it was down. That was the first study that I still am aware of that tried to correlate subjective experience with the objective measurements.
Right.
It took us 2 years to get this peer reviewed. It was finally published in one of the journals at Cambridge University Press.
Really? Okay.
So it took us 2 years because we could find people to talk about the building and the chemistry. They could find people to talk about people and the medicine. They couldn't find anybody to talk about the interaction.
Yes.
The connection. It took 2 years until they found somebody. And this person sent us 50 questions that led to another peer reviewer. We answered all of those, and then they published it.
Yeah.
So it's that middle. It's the linkage. It's where they come together, and
that's
right now they collide.
Yes.
We want to get them to interacting.
Yes.
That's the direction to go, and that's where I see I can contribute now. And it was that point that it was my presentation in Singapore at Indoor Air that for the first time I was able to get that topic accepted by the international group of indoor air quality engineers and PhDs.
Yeah.
Most of them still didn't get it, but it's in the proceedings now. It was accepted. And out of, there was 840 presentations in that conference, but there were 400 and some that weren't accepted.
Yeah.
So whatever that means, I don't have a diploma. I don't have the Nobel Prize or anything. I don't need it, but I've got it, at least people starting to hear it now. And it came down to how I worded it.
Well, and you're connecting the dots, right? Through your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge. And when you connect those dots for people and you frame it in a way and you have the opportunity to deliver it, then it's just the how you deliver it.
Right.
And everything that
it's taken me 14 years with that organization to learn how to deliver it.
Yeah. And this is my first,
because I said I'm either stubborn or naive.
Maybe a little both. I don't know. We all are.
But they haven't told me to sit down and shut up yet.
That's right. They keep coming back. It's like, what's that guy that does the Academy Awards, Ricky Gervais? He's like, hello, they keep calling back.
Yeah.
They said they didn't want anybody offensive this time. Hello. That was one of the best lines.
Yeah.
But we come to something like this, and this is my first time here because, we were talking earlier. I'm curious because I'm in my environmental industry.
Right.
That we know and we're still learning on, but we bring a certain layer of whether it's expertise or just wisdom and knowledge that we're trying to share. How do we take that tension as things overlap? What usually happens, or what I see a lot of times, is that somebody's trying to steer the ship, whether that's driven by monetary gain or whether that's driven by power or authority or whatever in the industry for whatever reason.
Well, they want to steer their ship, and I want to steer my ship.
Right.
That's where the conflict and the tension arises. You've got to have a group of people that are willing to not just compromise. I hate that word.
I do too.
They got to find the common ground that can move forward, and they need a structure to govern that. And that's why I was talking to some people. I've been involved with, S520 was ANSI accredited. So the ANSI process, American National Standards Institute, is the one that's part of the subgroup of the International Standards Organization.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a specific process of documentation of procedures so that there's you reduce the risk or amount of dominance by one group or one person or an industry. It's transparent because every statement, every response on the review process must be answered by the consensus body, including going out they offer it to the public. You can take it to your worst enemy and they can respond and say, this is all BS. No. You have to answer to that.
Well, there's good and bad with that, right? The good is that it's vetted by enough people to give that consensus, to give it credibility. Right. Here's where I think the bad is, and this is not wrong or right. It's just
bad.
I don't know that it's bad, but it slows down the process to wherever we think we're trying to go with whatever our agenda is, right? So
there's an example within ICRC, for example, that does a lot of ANSI standards. It's not uncommon. There's a couple of particular processes right now where that is happening, and they can't reach a consensus between two opposing views.
Right.
But then I'm on a committee right now that we wrote it 3 years ago, well, starting of year 4 now, to update it.
Right.
Well, it's a major revamping of the document, and we all have the same goal in mind, and we're working through it very smoothly.
Yeah.
Major changes. But I've also been on some that it got really contentious.
Yeah.
But if it continues, then you don't get it to the point to a vote to go to public review, and the organization doesn't allow to go to public review. So yes, it slows it down. There's one out there, for example, that ASTM did one on assessment, but it's very general and more toward commercial buildings.
Right.
But if you want S520 to remediate mold,
right,
how do you determine you need S520? There's no standard out there.
Right.
They just kind of make up stuff for S520. Same for the post-remediation verification. How do you know when you're done? There's no document out there for that by anybody. Mm-hmm. People have been working on assessment for 20, 30 years. It's still not there.
Right.
And it's not because people don't agree. It's that I don't know how to do it.
Well, here's what I see with the problem side of it, because the beauty of it is it gives an anchor. It gives stability. Right. Stability is great because it's harder to challenge.
Right.
But other than slowing down the clog, we don't get excellence. We get minimum standards, because by the time we dilute to a point, it doesn't mean minimum standards is like the toilet. It just means that for the focus of whatever that industry is, it's like, does it bring it to the cream of the crop to say, how good can we make this? And we never quite get there, but we have a starting point to say, okay, what else are we going to find? What are we going to learn about science? What are we going to learn about buildings? What are we going to learn about the body?
So the way they have dealt with that is that there's a standard practice. That's what most people do.
Right.
And that was rejected at the very beginning, and that's not good enough. Okay. If it was good enough, they don't need the standard.
Right.
So you can't do perfect.
No.
It's too expensive. Right. And a lot of it's unattainable. So they developed the term standard of care. It's something that's used in medicine and other places also. So what's the standard of care that is performed by reasonably competent individuals, experienced individuals in the industry?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a amorphous middle ground, but it's not the worst and it's not the best. But so it's a standard of care, not a standard of excellence.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if you want to do excellence, you can, but you start with the standard of care.
Exactly.
This is what the industry consensus is as a middle ground.
Which we need.
Do at least that. Mm-hmm. And then for SIRS patients and other people, you can add on to that and do more.
Yeah.
But that doesn't prevent you. The standard does not prevent you from doing more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I see, again, back to your point earlier, is like, who's going to make that decision? And so whenever we get who's going to lead this objectively in between these two industries, because they are so closely tied together.
Right.
The how matters, and everything in life and society, we have a binary systems in everything, right? And in our industry, it's the tug between the energy efficiency and the health of the building. They're completely opposites, and somehow there's a tension there that we're trying to manage.
Right.
And in the healthcare industry, it's very much the same, right? So they're getting between the traditional side and the functional side. They've got one's preventative, theoretically, one's preventative, and one's responsive, and has been, in my opinion, diluted in many ways and compromised. Not that every industry isn't, but the idea is that because these things exist, we're just another layer of that binary system where we're like, okay, we're merging together. How is this going to look? Who's going to make those decisions? And to your point earlier, I think that paradigm of having two complete different systems with the spring and the clog, or what the gear, it is the best analogy for say, okay, we're not going to. We're going to play together, but we have intrinsic value that is equal in the same way as far as the process.
Can we play together? How does a gear and a spring play together? Well, there's some kind of interface, or you have to create an interaction, a relationship.
An engineer
for that. Yes.
Yeah.
So more to the point of this organization and the industry itself, there's no answer because it has to be created.
It does, yes.
And the way you do that is they talked a lot about the need for education and standards and that sort of thing, and committees. So join a committee, okay? And this is how I have, what little influence I have is I join committees. And sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not that helpful, but at least it's out there. I can't make it happen, but I can put it out there for people to take it or not, and eventually get it. And there's some things that some people that I've worked with that have known me for 20 years that are just now getting it.
Right.
Some people got it really quickly.
Yeah.
And went on. Okay. But so it's the interactions. So having a conference like this where both are invited and both sides do presentations.
Right.
What if I was in an advisory capacity, what I would want to do is have a practitioner's presentation, talk about the building, and then how they see the medical could interface with that. What do they need to know about medicine to better help understand the building and how it can affect people? Mm-hmm. And the doctors, the medical people, then to say, okay, here's the medicine involved. How does that relate to the building? Mm-hmm. Their best perception of it. Mm-hmm. And then you see it's different. That's mm-hmm. an interaction. Now you can look at that interaction between the two.
Right.
It's out in the open. And now that's where the conversation is. Not what the building is, not what the medicine is, but the interaction between the two. What does the doctors need to know? What do the practitioners need to know?
And what does the environmentalist need to know? Because it should be conversely the same.
Right.
You know, I always tell people when I talk to doctors about this, and if they give advice on the building, I'm like, okay, guys, you treat the body, I'll make the building healthy, right? And we work together, but I don't tell them that I don't read their blood panel and tell them what to do. It's no different than you reading the NERMI and tell them what to do.
Right.
You know, other than the effect on the body from those particular things, but as far as the source, that's my job.
That's right.
And
it's up to them to make the determination based on their diagnosis.
Correct.
So I go in and they say, oh, this is horrible. You need to run screaming naked into the night to save your life. And you go in and they say, no problem.
Yeah.
And somebody else says, well, you need to make some adjustments. They're the ones that, based on the medical, when you bring medical in, they're the ones that have the medical diagnosis of a condition, not the cause.
Correct.
The cause is going to come from a toxicologist or a building scientist.
Correct. And if we're allowed to do our thing, it should make their job a whole lot easier. We're clear in the mud.
But they have to have that conversation about what do doctors need to know about the environment to make a decision? What do they need from you to help them? We need to know what we need from them so we know what to look for.
Which is why I'm here for this. Yeah, exactly. Because we're, and conversely, it would be nice to see some of these guys come to IAQA.
Yeah,
right. So I mean, just a thought. I don't know if you guys are listening, but we'd love for you to play in the sandbox.
I want to go back to exposure. We haven't done that yet.
We're doing that right now. Again, exposure is everything, and you taught me that better than anybody. So let's do another point on that. Give me what you got.
Well, you were one of the first ones that, when I talk about it, got it, understood. You said, "Oh, you're talking about exposure." Mm-hmm. Very few people do that. Here's the biggest problem with exposure. First of all, there's presence and there's exposure. Presence is it's there.
Yeah.
Okay. Exposure is direct physical contact with your body. You inhale it, you touch it, it touches you, or you ingest it. Mm. A spot of mold over here that's there on the surface is not an exposure. Mm-hmm. Because it's not in contact with your body unless you reach over and touch it or you lick it.
Right.
Okay. Or it's disturbed and it becomes airborne. Mm. And as it spreads through the air 360 degrees all over, some small portion of it gets to you. And if you inhale it, then it's an exposure.
Right.
Okay. One quick example that I gave during our discussion at lunch today, actual situation with me, they did a $28,000 of remediation in the master bedroom and master bath. And the guy that did the inspection report, it was based on 2 million spores of Stachybotrys. But after they were done with the remediation of the bedroom and bathroom, they were still sick. Somehow or other, they found me and I said, well, where's the report? I'm going to see it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so did they sample? Yes. Where did they sample? Mm-hmm. So they take me down to the far end of the house, down one level from the master bedroom, master bathroom, by the hot water heater and below where the pressure release valve is. So probably some water got down there or something. Mm-hmm. There's this black circle of mold growth, black, about the size of a quarter. Mm-hmm. And there's a piece missing, a straight line across it. So it was a tape lift. Mm-hmm. And they took the tape lift and lifted off about a third of that colony. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, first of all, they remediated a third of the colony. They removed it. So it's remediated. Which is what
remediation means, is remove.
Physically removed it. Where is that mold now? It's in the lab. It's not in the house anymore. It's in the lab.
That's right.
Okay. But how did the rest of it get to the far end of the house, an upper level?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
Correct.
Okay. It was present in the house, but they were not exposed to it. It was not in direct physical contact, and there was no way that it could.
Right.
Now, the confusion in this case led to the big mistake of that inspector.
Mm-hmm.
He just focused on that, and he didn't look at the little door beside him.
Forest for the trees.
That if he had opened that door into the crawl space, which was a muddy dirt floor with rotting carpet on it, with cardboard covered with damp and wet, covered with black growing mold, and the forced air system is sitting right there in the same room. And that's not the worst of it.
Yeah.
It's not the worst of it. The worst of it was that the cold air return had fallen off. So it was sucking air from all that mold there directly into the forced air system, distributing throughout the whole. That's why the people were sick.
That's where that came from in the first place, probably. That first colony may have. Who knows?
Yeah, right. And it landed on that spot with enough moisture to grow.
Colonized.
And Stachybotrys needs a lot of moisture for 3 to 4 weeks, as long as that, to grow into a colony and start to reproduce. So the good part was that it triggered an investigation. The bad part was that they remediated the wrong thing. Right. The worst part was that they stopped and didn't look at what was there.
Wasn't a holistic investigation.
The exposure wasn't the carpet and the cardboard in the crawl space. It was the mud and the mold and the bacteria and everything in that whole milieu description of that crawl space being sucked into the forced air system and blown throughout the house. That was the problem.
Yeah.
That was the physical problem. The problem to be solved was, why were they sick? Because the person called, not the house.
Right.
So why did the person call? What needs to be done so that they aren't sick anymore, or at least they aren't as sick?
Right.
So you have to do an inspection. He didn't inspect, he sampled.
Correct.
Sampling identifies presence.
Correct.
It does not identify exposure.
Right.
Maybe potential exposure. You can't have exposure without presence, but you can certainly have presence without exposure.
Right.
Another way of thinking about it is, you can have a bottle of arsenic or rat poison in a closed container in the upper cupboard of the kitchen in a locked cabinet.
Right.
It's present. I can test it and I can find it, but there's no exposure. Take it out of the cabinet, now the risk increases.
Correct.
Take the lid off, now the risk increases, but there's still no exposure. Spill it on the floor, or have the kid come and put their hand in it or drink it. Now there's exposure of what is present.
Here, this is interesting, because to take that another level, or another scenario for potential, which is what a lot of the sensitivities that we talk about, the fear kind of comes from, because these are things that are not as obvious as direct exposure.
Right.
When the air currents are moving, what are they moving? If you smell something,
that's right.
That means there's particulate that has a substance on it, or a contaminant on it. And so now is if the mold is not in the air, can the MVOCs be in the air and still affect people or not?
Sure. MVOCs from anything.
Correct.
Personal care products, new building materials, damp, water damaged materials. The Institute of Medicine in 2004 said that very clearly. So it's not mold and health, it's damp indoor spaces and health. If there's enough damp in it,
air sampling won't catch it.
No.
The inspector says, "Oh, you're clear. You're mold free. The house doesn't have anything because my air sample did it." So the advantage of it is, if you do one and you get one spore of Stachybotrys that it picks up that shouldn't be in the air, now it's like, oh, if you haven't done a really good investigation on that house, you better.
Why?
Well,
here's the punchline. Yeah, where's the spore now?
Exactly. It's at the lab.
It's in the lab. I remediated that one spore
you did. Yep.
by sampling.
Yep.
My job's done.
And now you're curious, though. You're curious to say, how comprehensive do I need to be?
Right. Where is the growth that produced that spore?
Yes.
If you don't have persistent dampness inside your house, then you cannot have growth in the house.
Correct.
So where did the spores come from?
Yeah.
It came from growth outside, which is, it's been there for billions of years. Long before there were people, long before there were houses. Houses don't create mold. Houses don't produce moisture. They let it in. They can accumulate it. It can leak. Mold can grow in the house, but they are not produced in the house.
That's my thing with ERMI too, which we've talked about many times. Nobody talks about the painter that was there a week ago and brought his nasty drop cloths in there.
Right.
And then when they did an Ermie, because they didn't feel good for other reasons.
Right.
And they saw, oh my gosh, I got stacky about like I'm going to die. We got to move out of this house.
Right.
And you're like, well, where's the history of the water damage? Okay.
Exactly.
Exactly. And
you have to locate the source. And spores are everywhere all the time, so there is no source. When they'll produce, they detach from the growth and immediately mix and circulate. Yep. So you can't trace them back. You cannot locate with spore sampling. How you do it though is with dampness, because growth is strictly limited to the boundaries of a persistently damp surface. Look for the dampness first.
That's right.
Testing first is like trying to find fish by throwing your bait into the road or into a garbage can.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to find fish that way. Find where fish can live, a body of water, and then use your bait and your skills to find it.
Moisture again.
Exactly.
Fish.
So, yeah, exactly. So
it's always moisture.
If you want to find a whale, do you go to the desert? No, you go to water. The body of water, big enough for the whale. What is the environment? What are the environmental conditions that can produce mold growth that can reproduce, and by making spores that are detected in sampling, because sampling only detects spores, it does not report growth.
Correct.
Okay, so but that's what people want, is growth. That's the deal killer for, say, a sale of a house.
Right.
Because the spores are easily removed. They'll dry, tiny particles like dust. They'll mix in with the dust. You remove them with the ordinary dust removal, like HEPA vacuum, Swiffer, damp wiping. How do I know that the vacuuming and Swiffer can do it? Because that's how you sample for Ermie and Hertzme.
That's right.
And when you do your swipe with your cloth, you remediated that spot.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to go back to that same spot and wipe again, you're not going to get much of anything.
Yeah.
You remediate, you removed it.
Or you moved it from over there to over there. At some point, the load on that rag gets, up, and then it's like, oh, and if there is a source, you've just contaminated the other areas of the home that maybe weren't.
That's right. So we were talking about exposure and presence, and the fact that testing only finds spores. It cannot locate the dampness. Therefore it cannot locate the growth. So inspect first, so you know whether to test or not. If you inspect and can find the dampness, growth is visible to the naked eye. Yes, it can be hidden in a wall, but if it's there on the naked eye, you can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So inspect first. If you find the dampness, then you can confirm with the test if you still need to. Most of the time, you don't need to.
Yeah.
Now, when you're doing cleanup after remediation, after a major water event or something like that, and the person is sick, John Banta has a procedure that he's developed that is accepted by the CERS-X organization. That's really important. But you don't have to start with the ultimate perfect response up front.
Right.
Go for the simple stuff first.
Yeah.
No moisture, no history, IR cameras, moisture meters. You can't find any area where growth is occurring or could have occurred. Then all the spores you get, millions and billions of them, came from outside. You don't have a mold problem. You have a spore accumulation problem.
Yeah, you have a load issue in the house. And how many times do we just tell people just to clean their house?
Right.
A million times.
And oftentimes, if you start with that, then in the process of cleaning, you find the dampness. So in Joe Stiebrick's words, don't do stupid things. Don't test for what can't locate. Locate first. And then clean, and then you maybe will find areas of concern: warped wood, flaking paint, soft areas, discoloration, water stains, evidence of previous dampness.
Well, your awareness is up. You're hunting for things while you're cleaning things,
and even if you aren't paying attention, you were up and oh my goodness, sheetrock fell apart there.
Yeah. Why is my hardwood bumpy over here and wavy? Right. All right.
Let's investigate. Let's be curious.
Always. Yeah.
Flashlights and curiosity are the two biggest tools.
Let's talk about one tool that I know that you like, one that you trained me on.
Oh, okay.
So I just want to touch on it because from a technology standpoint, I think it's fascinating because I don't know anything else that does it. And for the fact that you are an advocate for the validity of a process as part of the overall diagnostic in location, it's a neat tool.
Yeah, I might as well say what it is.
Instascope, baby.
Okay, so let me first say I don't work for Instascope.
Yep, I know.
Okay, I do some consulting with them, independent. I do second level training for people that have purchased an Instascope. Not about the Instascope and touting it, but what is the indoor environment? What are the characteristics and properties of an indoor environment that you need to know? And then which of those can the Instascope detect or measure or identify? And which ones can it not identify or measure? So that's the relationship with the Instascope. And the reason that the environmental information, the environmental quality information is so important is because Instascope is not another mold machine. It's not another mold detector. It can identify some. Basically, it identifies particles and PM10, 10 microns and smaller, PM2.5, 2.5 microns and smaller. And within those particles, it then differentiates which of those particles are mold, spores or fragments, which are bacteria and virus, and which are pollen. So now out of, say, 50,000 particles that you're detecting real time, which of those, it's a comparison, it's a percentage. What percentage of the total particles is mold?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can do things like go into another room, and now the percentage is higher. So that indicates that there are more spores and fragments. It doesn't identify growth. You still got to go for the dampness.
Correct.
But it can identify locations of accumulation, at least.
Right.
So once you go in and do the quiet air to see what's quiet, normal is still suspended in the air. You can go in and shake a curtain. You can tap the couch. You can walk on the carpet and find hot spots.
Right.
After that, then you can go in with a fan or a small leaf blower, clean, and disturb surfaces, floors, shelves, cabinets, walls. And all you have to do is let the Instascope sit in the middle. It's a portable one that you walk around the room with for people that don't know. You can put it in the middle, let it just suck air as you disturb the surfaces and watch the levels go up. So how high does it go in a clean house? How high does it go in a visibly dusty house? We don't know that yet. We need that documentation so we can create a dust index.
Right.
Okay. Now, if the particles increase, I've never seen it less than 7 times higher. Okay. So it goes, as that goes up, what's the proportion of mold? Is it still the same?
Right.
Or does it go higher? Then that means that you've got a lot of exposure risk from the surface that can be disturbed off for exposure by getting off the surface. Or maybe it actually is now less as a percentage. So now you know it's a dust problem, not a mold problem.
Right.
Or bacteria goes up. The mold doesn't, but the bacteria and virus do. What does that tell you? We don't know for sure what that tells us yet. That's what we need these doctors in here to tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. But that means that it's on the walls and now there's an exposure risk.
Right.
Okay. Clean the walls.
Yeah. And it identifies some of these triggers that they're having to say, where are these things coming? What road are we looking down?
Right. Right. So it also does VOCs. Temperature, humidity, CO2.
CO2, yeah.
You now have a profile of characteristics of an indoor environment.
Yeah.
Of the air.
Yeah.
Okay. So indoor environments, pretty much universally, globally, have 4 components. And Joe mentioned them today too.
Yep.
So you've got thermal, which is temperature and humidity. That's where you get your condensation and stuff like that. Okay. You've got indoor air quality. It's not really the quality of the air. It's the contaminants that's in the air. What are the contaminants in the air? And that's what Instascope is really good at for the particles and also for total VOCs.
Right.
Okay. So you've got those 2 taken. What it doesn't do is light, artificial and natural light. It's too bright, too dim, it glares, it flickers, etc. It affects your experience in the indoor environment. Sound and vibration. It's too loud, it's too quiet, it vibrates.
Yeah.
You know, raucous neighbors next door.
EMF, all of that.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So those are the properties of the indoor environment. So The Instascope produces a comprehensive report of all those together. Okay. We don't know what all that means yet because nobody's done it before. So we need people like you that have it to report back to them and to me, because I'm curious. Okay. What are you finding?
Right.
What kind of conditions of people or what kind of conditions of building result in what kind of a pattern?
In what regions and what
That's right.
climates?
Yeah, exactly. So now that instrument is there and it's available and it's real time. You walk around the room from low level, mid to high, and you walk around the room like that. In 3 to 5 minutes, you've got this report. Instead of 1 or 2 aerosol cassettes or spore traps, you have the equivalent of 1,000.
Yeah.
So you've got a better distribution.
Right.
The spore trap is a concentration, which is an amount in a particular volume or amount on a particular area. That's a concentration.
Right.
Okay. That only tells you that sample at that location at that time. It tells you nothing about what's next to it.
No.
You can have that one spot of Stachybotrys, like the example I just gave you on the surface. That does not indicate the conditions of the house. You have to look at, are there other spots like that? How many are there? How dense is it? What's the extent of it?
Right.
Then you have kind of an idea visually. But with a spore trap in the air, you don't know.
Right.
And the air is always moving anyway.
Always.
Okay. So with a real-time measurement like that, you get basically the combination of thousands of individual spore traps all at one time. You now have a load, which is exposure.
Oh,
and
yes.
The concentration doesn't tell you exposure. So sampling only gives you spores. It doesn't give you growth.
Right.
Okay. And the samples are only applied to that spot at that time, not anything else, only what is in that spot. And in 2004, there was a conference. Brad Present from Australia presented. David Miller was there, Richard Shaughnessy, Gene Cole, etc. And he had 2 Anderson samplers for culturing. Nobody knows what an Anderson sampler is anymore. But he said, I took it, sitting side by side, touching, same time, at the same time, and here's the results. And they didn't look anything alike. David Miller stood up and said, did you do 3? He said, yes, I did 3, and they still don't look anything alike. I just realized about a year ago, I saw Brad in Singapore, and I asked him this. I said, I just realized that maybe was the first time that even the international experts really realized that mold is not uniformly distributed. And he confirmed that.
Yeah,
he said,
you made that point today at lunch even.
Yeah, before then, they didn't really realize that.
Yeah.
That was what was so astounding about his simple little experiment. And that's the other big confusion in the industry today. They take one sample and they think it applies to the whole room or the whole building. No, my little spot that resulted in $28,000 of remediation missed the whole point.
Exactly. It is a potential.
Yes.
And that one spore, to your point earlier, was remediated. Right. So is there any more? That could have been the only one.
Okay, so if it's on the surface, you don't have exposure unless it comes off the surface.
Okay, kids, this is part 3, if you will, just with some technical difficulties since we're remote. We want to finish our talk here, and I want to, again, let Carl kind of finish his thought, but we've just got another few more minutes that we'll get edited in here, but thank you so much for listening. Carl, let's finish your last thought here, and then we'll close.
Okay, so basically I was running through a series of sequences or meanings with sampling. And one is that for mold, at least, that sampling identifies presence, not exposure, because it's not in physical contact. You have to have a person, you have to have a pollutant, you have to have a pathway, and you have to have a pressure that moves something through that pathway, or the person goes through the pathway, so that there's direct physical contact, so there's exposure. Sampling only identifies presence. It's there in that sample. It's in the air sample, that volume of air, not beside it, not anywhere else. It may or may not be representative. Okay. Surface samples, if you see like, say, 2, 3, 4 colonies, well, if you sample the colony, you get a different result in between the colonies. So it's not uniformly distributed. Okay.
That's a great point.
And what's on the surface that stays on the surface is presence, not exposure. It's potential, perhaps.
It's potential.
What's in the air is the only thing that you can be exposed to, but you don't breathe everything in all at once, so it's a potential exposure too.
Right.
So any of the air samples, it's important to know what the exposure risk is, what the load is, like we were talking about the Instascope and the real-time sampling. How much is there? How full is the air? How foggy is it outside compared to a cloud that floats by?
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Great analogy.
Okay. So we have to look at what sampling does and doesn't do very carefully and understand what those things are. So is it presence or is it exposure? The importance of air sampling is to see what's available for exposure. The importance of surface sampling is what's there and available possibly. Can it be disturbed into the air? And that we talked about the Instascope doing the quiet air and then disturbing surfaces with air to see what the changes are and see if the proportion of the mold and bacteria to the total particles changes or not, and what that means. So you need lots of samples to get an idea of the profile of the air or the surface. The real-time sampling of the air will give you that, but it's not going to do the surface.
No.
And none of that is going to locate the growth because it's limited to the dampness on a surface. Not in the air. Humidity does not grow mold. It's the moisture on a surface, and that gets complicated
Which
too.
is the dew point, right?
Yeah, if it condenses there, yes. And even then, it's the available water, and that's a technical term, and we can get into that.
Different podcast.
Right. So it's complicated in a way, but it's also very simple. One of the simplest ways to think of it, if it's not clean, clean it. There's no food for growth. And if there's growth or spore accumulation in it, you've removed it by cleaning it. If it's not dry, dry it. Because if it's damp, then there's the potential, but it's got to be a certain amount for a certain time. You know, at least 2 to 3 days for most molds for it to germinate, sprout, grow, and start reproducing. But as much as 3 to 4 weeks for some, like Stachybotrys. Okay, so how much moisture for how long on a surface with the food, and that's a potential, that's growth. But we don't know, because you can have growth that doesn't produce spores. It's busy growing. It's happy. Okay, it's growing. It doesn't need babies. It's just growing big. I hate to bring this up toward the end here, but ERMI only measures DNA that's inside cells that have to be destroyed to get the DNA out. So it destroys the spores and any other mold material. So you can have massive growth without spores or very few spores, but it interprets it as spores, spore equivalents. So you can have no spores, no exposure, but the ERMI result says, oh my God, you're going to die.
Look at all these fragments everywhere.
Yeah. So you really have to get into it and realize what the sampling means and what it doesn't mean. But first you have to inspect so you know what kind of sampling, if any, that you need. And if you're worried about the growth rather than accumulated spores, because that's the one that can be difficult, complex, and costly, and can kill a real estate deal, or tell you should move and leave, testing can't find it. Dampness will.
Kids, it's always water, number one. Number two, don't do stupid things. And
like indiscriminate routine testing. That's probably one of the stupidest things you can do.
And
you're looking for whales in the desert.
Whales in the desert, that's right. You got to go to the water to find the whales. I'm exhausted. Like this guy, he runs circles around me, right? And he's a little older than I am. And I'm just, I'm really appreciative of your time.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
I've had a great time, and I don't even want to look at what time it is because I know it's late. But we're having a good time here at the CERS conference in Florida, and we will be back in town, and this will be uploaded here Sunday and then the next Sunday. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope if you have questions, feel free to comment. I'll put his personal phone number on this thing, and you can call him anytime. Or
email.
You could just email. And
or text.
Or yeah, right, there you go.
I have a screening thing on my email now. I've got an Android, and they got a screening thing on there now.
Really?
Yeah, it stops it, and it wants to know who you are and what you want.
There you go. So check him out, and we'll be on the lookout for some other interviews coming here from the conference. But thank you so much for watching.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you very, very much.
All right.
All right, you kids, be safe out there. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.